Now it's time for tip-episodes with quick tips you should know. Techniques you can implement into your workflow right here on A Tale, oh yeah, A Tale of Two Hygienists.
Hi, I'm Teresa Duncan of Odyssey Management. Today, I'd like to talk to you about behaviors that you can spot when you are in an office to see if it's a good fit for you. Now, I know that you are focused on your studies and you're focused on graduating, but some of you are probably out there in other offices. Maybe you'll be temping, maybe you'll actually be doing some internships, or maybe you're just visiting around to see what the current marketplace is. When you go into an office and it's potentially a place that you want to work in, you really like the manager, you've got to know the doctor, this is really where you think you're going to land. Try hard to not fall in love immediately with that first job offer. Now, as a new employee, there are a couple things you need to look for in order for you to make sure that you're in the right place. I'm looking at it from a managerial point of view. I have interviewed and hired and unfortunately let go of hundreds of employees at this point. And I'm not full-time anymore and I don't do full service consulting, but in my experience, I've had tons of interactions when it comes to making sure that somebody is going to fit in with the culture of the office. So I wanted to give you what I'm looking at from a managerial point of view, but I also want you to keep in mind of what you should be looking at to protect yourself. And what I mean by that is any manager who sees that you're evaluating for these particular issues or particular factors in an office, if they're a really good manager, they're going to be really glad that this is top of mind for you because they want that same culture. They want you to fit into their culture. And if it's a fit, they're going to recognize that you are looking at it from a good, coming from a good point of view. So let's talk about the things that you can see when you're there on a temporary basis or kind of on a drive-by basis. You can see these things. And then there's some things that you can look at when you're actually employed. It's not going to be very evident. So let's look at the obvious identities or behaviors that you're going to find in a practice. One thing that you should look for is the communication, the styles of communication. Take a look at how the employees talk to each other when you're there. Are they making snide remarks? Are they curt with each other? Are they listening? Hopefully you have employees that are actually listening to each other. And if you can see an example of two people who are disagreeing, but they're disagreeing in a professional manner, that tells you that there's a lot of good, respectful communication going on in that office. That office actually encourages people to think differently and perhaps present their side and it's accepted. And that's really, really good because no one wants to work in an office where if you have a concern, you're not listened to. You're kind of overridden. And so if you have any kind of yelling, if you see any yelling or any hostile language, or maybe even you see the side eye that goes on between employees, or perhaps as soon as someone rounds the corner and goes off on their way, maybe an employee turns to you and makes some kind of gossipy remark. Is that the kind of place that you want to work in? Because although it might be fun and it might be salacious at the moment, having to work in that environment, it's tough. It's really tough. Now, I realize some of you have already been in the workforce, and so you may have run into this before. But if you're brand new and haven't really been in a workforce that has these types of issues, just trust me on this. You don't want to be in a seriously gossipy office because that always comes back around. Might be fun to hear the gossip, but at some point in time, Mean Girls kicks in, Mean Boys, whatever. It kicks in and you're not always the one that ends up on the good side of it. And so it is really miserable. Bullying can be a real thing. Now, let's talk about collaboration. Do you see coworkers helping each other? Do you see them offering to clean a room when they're really, falling behind? That's what you want to see. And a lot of times you'll see that this is common because you won't get this comment from the person that says, really, you're going to help me. If it's common, you see them helping each other out. Nobody complains about whose job it is to take the trash out. That's the kind of office you want to be in. They routinely, regularly work together towards a common goal. That is definitely a great culture to fit into. Now, what I said about running behind, though, you have to pay attention to that as well, because if you're in an office where time management is an issue, Are they constantly running behind just in that short period of time that you're there? If you can tell that that's normal, believe me, that's going to impact you. You're going to be asked to hurry up. You're going to be asked to make time at really weird places for evaluations. You're going to be asked to clean rooms very quickly. And maybe you're not comfortable with just how much time you're given to do the tasks that you should be completing. So pay attention to the time management, even in the short period of time that you're there. Deadlines are serious. Patient time, the appointment times, people take that very seriously. Nowadays, people don't want to wait to see anyone. And so they're going to expect you to see them when they are scheduled to be seen. All right. One other thing to look at is the organization of the place, the overall appearance, the workplaces. Are they kept clean and orderly? Now, you know, and I know that OSHA and infection control are a thing, right? So we always look at our clinical space and we want to make sure that that's, beyond reproach, but take a look at other places. What about in the employee lounge? Is it a mess? What about the admin section, the places where patients can see? Is that just piles upon piles? What about the stockroom? Believe me, if you are a very organized person and you walk into an office where the inventory is a mess, if you're not able to make a change in that, I mean, these are big systems to overturn. You're the one who has to deal with it, right? So take a look at all of this. These are the things you can see, you can hear, you can observe, and that can give you an idea of whether or not this is the right office for you, not just culture-wise, but practically. Are you going to be able to function at your highest level in an office setting such as this? Now, once you get into the job, there are other things that you have to take a look at because hopefully you're in your forever job, but there are certain things to keep an eye out for that if they rear their head, it's going to become a bigger issue down the road. So first of all, accountability. Do people get called out for things that they should be correcting? And I don't mean called out like putting them on the spot, but if somebody messes up, we need to be able to nicely tell them, hey, that's a problem. Okay, so accountability. Is there accountability? Are people positive? Do you have a good, happy atmosphere? The first little bit that you're there, everybody wears a happy face, but after a month, you'll see whether or not this is normal. Are people just, kind of going through the motions? Do you want to be in a job like that? And then also work-life balance. Are you getting enough of it? And what about growth and development? Is CE encouraged? Is there an aura of learning, of constantly pushing yourself? Because with that comes the opportunity for growth as well. Maybe you become a clinical director. Maybe you become a lead in your department. And then finally, the last thing I want you to pay attention to is everybody in the office ethical? Are they making ethical decisions regarding treatment? And that will come out down the road. So trust your instincts when you first walk in and see the organization, see the communication. Are they collaborating? Is people running on time? That's going to give you a good clue as to whether or not this is the office for you. And then as you settle into your role, pay attention to the clinical decisions being made around you. Make sure that you're getting enough work-life balance. And then also make sure that they're encouraging you to grow in your role, not just personally, but professionally as well. So I wish you luck in your career. And hopefully I will see you at some point on the road in a class. Maybe you'll listen to a podcast, but I do wish you luck. I hope that you are in the dental industry for a very, very long time. Again, my name is Teresa Duncan. My company is Odyssey Management. Feel free to check me out for webinars, not just administrative, but clinical as well. And hopefully I will become your go-to for insurance as well.
A tale of two hygienists.